Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Premier Hoops Weekly. I'm Dr. Shabazz, and today we are joined by Mr. Kojo Afari. Kojo, how is everything?
I was doing great, man. Just happy to be healthy and safe.
Kojo, we're all locked in, so our first question, we want to know, what are you currently binge watching?
What am I binge watching? I'm watching Friends, the classic TV show on Netflix, man. That's one of my go-tos. So I probably watched that show like 20 times from season 1 to 10. Doesn't get old for me. So I'm currently on season 8.
Friends.
Yep. I can't get enough of that.
That's your go-to. Friends. All right. Kojo, you played overseas basketball for quite some time now, and you have to explain to us, what is it like where you've been, because your story is different, because your home is in Canada.
Canada, right.
And your path to professional basketball was a little different. Like, when was the very first time you had someone, a coach or other players, say, hey man, he's a problem. Somebody double team that. Hey, who's guarding him? Please take us, whether it's high school, middle school, college. When did that first happen?
Definitely wasn't high school. I wasn't really good in high school, to be honest. It was probably my third year of college where I kind of started to grow into my body a little bit, understood the game. I was like naturally physically gifted athletically, but I had little to no work ethic. And my coach, out of frustration, he was like, listen, if you actually apply to yourself even 50% of the time, you could play pro. And that's when I first heard it. So I was 20 during that time. And that always kind of stuck with me. And then by the time I got to my fifth and final year of eligibility is when I knew it was my last year, but I knew that I was just starting to get good. So, from my third to my fifth year of college is when it first hit me that I could make a living playing this game.
What was the name of this college?
So I went to two colleges. The first college I went to was Sioux College. Probably no one's ever heard of it. It's 8 hours north of where I am now in the Toronto area. And then the second college is called Mohawk College. That's where I really kind of made a name for myself in my collegiate career.
Now, Kojo, you're saying you weren't good in high school. So how did you even end up playing basketball?
Like, it was when I moved to Canada when I was 15. And I just so happened to go to a school that was but primarily football and basketball driven. I was a little socially awkward, wasn't able to like talk to people or anything, but I had a growth spurt. I knew that all the cool guys played on the basketball team. I knew that that's how you got girls in high school. So I just tried out. And I wasn't good, but I was naturally physically, I could jump, run, good length and stuff. So the coach is like, we could at least use, and I had a lot of energy, which I was told was contagious. So I joined the team, but I never played, but I fell in love with the game, just being in that atmosphere, pre-game talks, high fives every second, the atmosphere. And that's just kind of, I fell in love with the game. And then I just kind of spent that day on trying to learn how to play, and improving over the years.
How does a guy named Kojo Afari end up in Canada? Could you please take us through that, from where your parents first landed?
So my parents are from Ghana, West Africa. So over here and basically anywhere else in the world, Kojo is like such a unique name, but in Ghana, it's like John Smith, it's like the most common basic name, So, but yeah, it's just a typical Ghanaian name. My parents named me. They moved to Canada for school, That's when they had my older brother, and then 5 years later they had me. Then just through, I don't know, through life, my dad ended up getting a job overseas in Dubai, and we moved to Dubai. And so I actually grew up from age 4 to 15. I grew up in Dubai. Then my parents decided, it's time to move back to Canada. And that's kind of how I ended up here. So it's like overseas travel was like in my destiny, it seems like.
Kojo, from Dubai to Canada. And then how did you end up from Mohawk College to playing professional basketball?
So in Canada, there is the NBL, National Basketball League of Canada. I finished college, got a job, was going down the law enforcement route. So I got a security job to get my foot in that door. Still loved the game, still loved to train, work out. Found out that there was a draft combine for the NBL. Decided to better myself and go. Didn't work out the way I wanted, but through that, I made a lot of connections, and there was a startup league that was happening around my area. I was able to get signed there. League ended up losing funding, but I got the taste of professional basketball, so I needed to look somewhere else for an opportunity. Saw a street ball tournament in Australia where where I knew that there was this, they advertised that there was going to be coaches and stuff over there. Had a contact there, so I went on a limb, went out there to play in that tournament. Landed with just an address to a hostel and the phone number of the coach. And so that's all I had. So I just kind of contacted the coach. He let me practice with his team. Said that I was good enough, but he already had somebody with my style of play. He was looking for a bit taller. Being 6'5", 6'6", I'd never been told I was too short. That was the first time. And luckily, through word of mouth, there's another coach looking for my type of position, and that's how I got connected with that team in Australia. So about 8 months after graduating is when I got my first professional contract in Australia.
Now, Kojo, you do something a little different. We know a bunch of guys who play overseas, but you and your wife, Danae, you guys document all of your travels. Now, I follow you on Instagram, I follow you on LinkedIn, and you post these videos. Will you please tell me who came up with this idea to do this, and where can viewers find these videos where you just take us through all of your travels? Because they're absolutely amazing. Please explain that.
So when Danae and I first started dating, a friend of ours was really into the YouTube social media influencer type of world. So she had tried she got us to we try to do something like this, like a regular vlog of 4 friends hanging out. It was pretty cool, but YouTube vlogs are a bit more than just speaking in front of a camera. There's got to be a bit of some sort of storyline or purpose to it. So that is when I first kind of got introduced to that type of form of entertainment, if you will. Fast forward, I signed this contract. This was 4 months after we got married. So we're talking, we're like, wow, we got married, and 4 months later, we're moving to Australia. That's not really normal, So, so we thought, it would be pretty cool, for one thing, just to be able to look back on this, to be able to show something to our kids in the future, as well as to be able to, aside from also directly contacting all our friends and family back home, we could create these things so that people back home could see us, every week and kind of follow us on this journey because of how strange and unique it is. So yeah, we just started. And also Danae really loves, she loves video editing. She loves cinematography and stuff like that. So we figured, why not document this? We have our YouTube channel. It's pretty simple. It's just Kojo and Danae. Kojo. Danae is Danae on YouTube.
Hmm.
And so we've been documenting things from when we went to Australia, well, to England, back here, then to Vietnam, and then back here. Yeah, so yeah, we post on YouTube every, every week, every other week, and our Instagrams are on there too. So that's where you can find all the videos.
Please give us your Instagram handle.
So mine is the dot Kojo Afari, the obviously the and Kojo Kojo Afari Afari. Danae says DANAE underscore 1707. Yeah, then so we're mostly active on there more than anywhere.
Now, Kojo, your last stop was in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
and you started coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get out of coaching?
I love it. I love it because you learn so much aside from obviously the sport itself. You learn so much the skills, life skills from sports. Me growing up, I never really had, somebody like in my position to, I had people to impart wisdom obviously, but like through that way, through coach, I never really did much sports growing up. So to have to be able to, and I would have loved that, to have somebody that I can look up to in the sports realm to, challenge, compete, all that stuff. So it allows me to, and I'm just super grateful for the opportunities I've been able to get playing this sport and being able to travel and stuff like that. Basketball has given me lots of opportunities. And so now that I have, I guess, this skill or gift or whatever, um, I just love to be able to give that back to, the younger generation. And I love kids already. Like I love messing around with them, playing, like, joking around with them and stuff. So to be able to use like what I love to be able to impact a kid's life, it's amazing. And it also kind of forces me as well to continue learning and studying the game, because you can't teach things that you don't know, right? So to be able to coach, you got to know basketball in and out. So it kind of forces you to study, to learn the game. So it's like a revolving circle in the sense, like you learn what you love, you do what you love, you teach kids to do the same, develop them, and yeah, it kind of feeds me as a human being, if you will.
Take us through a schedule. What is a day like in Vietnam? A daily work day schedule. What is it like? Where does Danae go? Where do you go? What happens?
Okay, so she taught English over there.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us, for the most time, I worked at a sports academy in Vietnam. Most of the classes were after school basketball classes. So we basically, and her English sessions were after school English sessions. So we normally would have the full day to kind of create our own schedule, which was really nice. So I'd wake up at about 6:37, go to the gym, train, work out, because no one would be there. I wouldn't have to share the court or the weight room with anybody, which I love. So I would, it's about, let's say about 7 to 8:30 skill work. Around that time is when people back home are starting to kind of wind down and stuff. So I do my daily FaceTime calls and contact my family from about like 8:30 to about like 9:30. 9:30 to about 11, I'd be at the weight room. From there, I'd drive home, pick up some food, come back home. Danae kind of has her own morning routine. So we kind of just both would part ways a bit in the morning, do our own self-therapeutic stuff, if you will, come back, eat some lunch. Then I would lesson prep for my sessions, watch a bit of game film. Then we eat, binge watch some Netflix or something like that. Or if it's a vlog day, we record our vlog, whatever, shoot, we do some editing. Come about 4 is when I start getting ready to go to my sessions. And I would go, sometimes I have to travel a little bit within there to go to the classes and stuff. Then at about 8:30, come back. She's back from work as well. Dinner, movie or something, then repeat.
Now, were you able to finish your professional basketball season in Vietnam this year?
I was not. The season was cut short, unfortunately, because of what's going on right now. So that's probably disappointing. But more so, I'm just happy that they did shut things down when they did, because Vietnam has a lot less smaller capacity of how many cases they could handle. So they had to act right away. Otherwise, if they passed, I think, like 1,000 cases, their economy would not be able to handle that. So I'm glad they reacted when they did to kind of get things under control.
Now, as soon as that outbreak occurred, you got on a plane with Danae. You guys headed right back to Ontario.
Yeah. Yep. It was the outbreak. So the outbreak happened first. We were there during the outbreak for a little bit initially, because there's always the thought that things will kind of get back to normal. So we were there for a couple of weeks, a little over a month actually, because things seemed to kind of die down. Then there was another outbreak. So after the second outbreak, it was like almost worse than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's when things started getting crazy around North America as well. I wasn't sure about flights and cancellations and closed borders and stuff. So that's when we're like, okay, you know what? We got to get home. So from the decision to come home and actually arriving home was a span of about 5 days.
So what's next, Kojo? You're back in Canada. The season is canceled. What's next? What's in store for you?
Honestly, right now, the biggest thing is just keeping my mind and my body sharp, ready, because right when things open up, I know just like me, everybody in the sports world and all is itching for things to kind of get back to normal. So once that happens, things are going to be happening quick. So I don't want to miss that turn of events, if you will. So I'm just staying ready. Honestly, I like to say that the world is my oyster. So, Vietnam is definitely a huge viable option as well, but I'm also going to explore and see what other opportunities are out there. And so I'm only going to just control what I can control, is how sharp I stay, how ready I stay. What I'm starting to do now, as everyone is doing, is really jumping onto the online world. I've been able to connect with a couple of small basketball academies in Ghana, where my parents are from. And I think within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start hosting some online skills training with them, with the kids out there. So that I'm using that to kind of occupy my time a little bit and just, try and keep myself sane a little bit. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens next.
So let's say you mentioned having options. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say, okay, I'm Kojo Afari. I'm 6'6" basketball player, but if you want to see some of my tapes and if you're interested in giving me a tryout with your team, what am I going to see from you if I look at tape from you playing in Australia? What am I going to see from you if I look at tape from you playing in Vietnam? And what am I going to see from you looking at tape from when you played at Mohawk in Canada? And where am I going to try to fit you in, Kojo? Why don't you explain to me, why would I even be interested in having you on my squad?
Well, what you'll find is there's a gradual progression in terms of my game from Canada to Australia to Vietnam. Canada, I started out as just an athlete, in the sense of I was athletic. I could run the floor, rebound, give energy, all that fun stuff. But as you progress in the basketball world, obviously everybody's athletic, everybody's big, everyone can jump. So you can see my skills, my ball handling skills, my shooting ability, my decision making evolve over time. So basically, what you see in Australia is a bit more handling, but still a lot more kind of slashing, attacking the rim. Um, But what you'll see in Vietnam is probably a complete game, like a slasher, attacker. Um, I'd say my biggest asset to any team is the energy I bring and running in transition, fast breaking, finishing. But you'll see my decision making and ability to pull up in the mid range, really really tight, really uh, honed in, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been able to evolve from a role player to kind of a go-to player, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel I still have the I guess humility and maturity to be a role player if that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think at this point, I'm 26, turning 27 in a couple of months. I'm I think I've evolved into a mature all around player that can give you whatever you need, really.
Well, Kojo, you've been in Canada, you've been in Australia, you played in Vietnam. What's your favorite spot?
That's a good question. So far,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say I would have to say I can't. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. Like,
What is the advantage that maybe Australia has over being in Vietnam?
well, one thing is both Vietnam and Australia have great weather.
Mm,
Uh, they have great weather, but there's obviously less of a language barrier in Australia than Vietnam.
right,
So there's that.
right.
Now, that being said,
Mm-hmm.
there's more of a language barrier, but it's not impossible. There's a lot of foreigners that live in Vietnam, and you know you have Google Translate. All else fails, and extremely cheap phone plans as well. So with unlimited data and stuff. So there's that. I would go to Vietnam because
Mm-hmm.
you can really carve out your own life. You can carve out whatever you want in Vietnam because it's still in the stage of growing and developing. So stuff is a lot more cheap. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to start something, that's a good spot because things are cheap. You bring over a bunch of cash there, invest it in whatever you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
build something there. If you want to start your own sports academy, they're really open to young aspiring entrepreneurs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of opportunity. Not to say there is an opportunity in Australia, but there's a lot of opportunity in Vietnam, especially where I was in Ho Chi Minh City.
Two more questions. And the
Mm.
first is you just pack up and you go.
Yeah.
Now, you're married.
Mhm.
Just how difficult is it to say, hey, honey, I got news. How was your day first? Okay, great. We went shopping. Wonderful. So we're going to Vietnam. Like, how does that work?
So the biggest thing, and if there's anybody who is kind of in my situation that wants to live this type of lifestyle, one thing I would say, first of all, you got to know your partner. You got to know your wife. In my situation, and honestly, maybe like a lot of people, but she really isn't much of a fan of things being sprung on her. You know what I mean? She likes time to kind of process things. So when I either like apply for an opening or like my agent lets me know that he's submitting me for this thing and there's like a possibility of interest,
Mhm.
then I'd be like, okay, so babe, listen, there's a possibility that this would happen. What do you? I'll first say, what do you think about this country? Leave it open ended, and then she'll be like, why? Now she knows better. Now I ask that, she's like, why? And then I talk about the job itself. I know the questions she'd ask when I'm inquiring about stuff. I'd be like, okay, so this is the type of job you could get there. This is what the living expenses is. This is where the best coffee shops are. Stuff like that. Like she needs your coffee. You know what I mean? I think about all the stuff that would, the comforts of home that would be over there,
Mm-hmm.
kind of lay that out. Okay, next, the question, what she would always ask, what would this do for your career as a whole?
Mm.
Because, you know, you don't want to just move for the sake of moving. Ultimately, it's about, is this a good career move? Which I'm really thankful for that. She asked the right questions. Um, how is this compared to the other offer you got, you know, compared to like our big picture plan type of thing. So we'd like go through the list of like questions. And now that we've done this a number of times, there's like a template of checks that maybe needs to check off, you know, like stuff that I mentioned. So it's like a gradual conversation. But I don't really bring it up unless there's actually a possibility of, you know, interest from the other side. Other, because there's so much to think about, so I just try and like screen out, you know, unless. So yeah, it's a process, but you know, we've got a good system going, I think.
2 seconds on the clock. You got the ball in your hand, you launch it, boom, game winner. Are you pointing to the name in the front of the jersey or the name of the back?
I mean, you got to point to the name at the front. You know, it sounds so cliche, but it's true. I mean, unless I'm playing tennis or golf or something like that, it's all about it's all about the team, man. Like that, I do everything for the team. I like to help the teams win. So and I like, it's a lot more fun to celebrate together.
Hey, I really appreciate your time. Again, this is Premier Hoops Weekly with a big thanks to our guest for today, Mr. Kojo Afari, overseas basketball player. And Kojo, would you please tell us one more time where we can find those documentaries and videos of all of your travels?
So just type in Kojo and Danae on YouTube. You'll find all our stuff there. My Instagram handle is v.kojoafari, and that's where I'm most active. So yeah, you know, follow along, contact me, whatever you'd like.
Appreciate that. Thanks again for your time. Hey, we appreciate you guys for joining us. This is Premier Hoops Weekly. I'm Dr. Shabazz. Big shout out to the founder, Michael Chamberlain, and we'll see you in the next show.